So today I'm going to talk about my research, and so I'm going to briefly go over some of the marine protected areas, or I may just call it as MPAs, just to sort of cut down on the words, and what they're doing to help protect Antarctica. I'll also show a little bit of footage in between, just to sort of get your attention and help you think about the ways that you can also help marine biodiversity, even just your everyday life. So basically it was hard for me to ignore marine biodiversity when it comes to this class, and here's why.
The UN reported that 3/4 of the world's fisheries are overexploited, fully exploited, or significantly depleted due to overfishing.
The oceans are under siege like never before, and marine environments are in trouble. And if we don't wake up and do something about it, we're going to see fishless oceans by the year 2048. That's the prediction from scientists.
So yeah, it's a bit of a knock in the guts, I guess, there's those sort of statistics. So MPAs, they can play a critical role in protecting marine biodiversity, and they are often defined as coastal or oceanic management areas designed to conserve ecosystems together with their functions and their resources. And there are many benefits to having MPAs to protect marine biodiversity, and they can be an appropriate way of protecting certain species. There can be closed areas where they ban fishing, and there's also they can do things like monitoring and understanding natural processes and the biology of exploited stocks. So this next clip is just sort of showing us what is the leading cause of lost marine biodiversity, and just sort of how complex, and all these little things that we just don't think about when we're taking things out of the ocean.
Humans are the cause of this species depletion. Scientists have now estimated that as many as 650,000 whales, dolphins and seals are killed by fishing vessels per year, and yet still most people will continue to think that this will have little to no impact on the marine ecosystem, when really they play a vital and irreplaceable role in the oceanic life cycle.
So, constructing MPAs do come with challenges, and that can be things like governance and enforcement. We've got funding, got the size of the MPA, what it will cover, there's misconceptions, and there's also consensus issues that a lot of you have talked about with your sovereignty and things like that, and just trying to get all the nations to agree on things. I understand that most of the footage here is focusing just on fishing, and MPAs are really good at targeting that. However, for real marine biodiversity, we also need to focus on the non-animals that live there. We need to focus on, some of you said, the tourism, the habitat, and pollution as well. And other measures may need to be addressed to help with those issues, or they can find some sort of way to incorporate those into Antarctic MPAs. So this next clip is just sort of how we can stop or help minimise bycatch and from occurring just from one species. It's kind of, I'll just let you watch it.
Sharks are the apex predators in the ocean, who have shaped the evolution of thousands of marine species and have been around for 400 million years. Their extinction would without doubt dismantle the entire ecosystem. They have survived the previous 5 mass extinctions and are now going extinct thanks to humans. But it's not only the Asian demand for shark fins that sell for $400 per pound that is to blame. Around 50 million sharks are pulled out of the ocean per year as bycatch all around the globe by accident, often by so-called sustainable fishing methods. So if people are to really be against the killing of sharks and want to protect biodiversity in the oceans, we must stop fishing altogether.
Yeah. So, yes, that one's a little bit of a confronting thing, but I guess you just don't think about that when you're fishing. Obviously, if it's a little man on Fiji or you're in New Zealand out in a boat and you're catching a fish, you are very unlikely to get pulled out a whale. But you get the idea with the whole commercial fishing. So there actually is currently one MPA in the ocean around Antarctica, and that is in the South Orkney Islands continental shelf that I'm aware of when I was doing my research. It was established in 2012, and partially as a trial to see how these sort of things are going to work on high seas. It covers things like fishing, discharges, and dumping from fishing vessels. So this MPA is considered highly productive, a highly productive area because it's a key area for krill. And you know, we all understand now that krill is actually a really big source of food for these animals living in the Southern Ocean. So the unfortunate thing is that this MPA hasn't been in for very long, so there's not enough credible, sufficient scientific data to sort of see how this is actually, you know, benefiting or detrimental to the area. So this sort of next clip is sort of showing you about how much fish we actually, you know, get out of the ocean, how much of that actually ends up in our trolleys, but how much of it is sort of, you know, is it you know, used for other sources.
Approximately 2.7 trillion fish are taken from the sea every year, 40% of which is discarded as bycatch, and another third of which is often used to feed the animals, which people eat for meat, dairy, eggs. In fact, so much fish is ground up into pellets and fed to livestock that pigs, cows, and chickens are now the world's leading oceanic predators.
So that's another crazy fact. My understanding from when I worked on farms in New Zealand is that not all the feed that we feed our animals is ocean life, and you know, that we do have a lot of animals, thank God for that, that can eat grass and things like that. But I am understanding places like the United States, it's big consumer of fish for their land animals. So what's the future for MPAs? Well, MPAs, they appear that they can work. They have worked in other places, and it's just sort of waiting on to see what that science data is going to show in Antarctica. And as we've heard before, there's been a push to get more of them in place, and one of the key areas is the Ross Sea. The US and New Zealand have been, I guess, the main states behind that, and US was actually pushing for a larger and a stronger MPA than New Zealand. And it appears from what I've discovered, New Zealand may have come down with a sort of backed away from that because of their involvement with the tooth fish fishing that New Zealand is involved in. So that's possibly the reason why they have not pushed for such a strong one. So there are barriers to getting MPAs in place, and they need to be broken down. And that is likely to come from things like consumer, political, and industry preferences, and you know, and if those preferences change, then it could flow through to MPAs. So I guess this clip is just sort of saying, well, you know, why haven't these preferences changed, and just sort of sums up the presentation.
People don't want to hear it because that makes them feel like they have to take action, they have to stop doing something, and a lot of people don't want to, and people don't want to, they don't want to put it out there because it's uncomfortable. They don't want to propose to tell people what to do, but we're at a point where we all have to be cognizant, and we have to realize, and we have to take an action.
So that's it. That's what we're going to do.